I want to say to you, Jerry, that I hope those tapes come forever because I'm really addicted to them. And one of my favorite words is savor. And the savoring part is the anticipation of getting those tapes in the mail every week. Who cares about the bills? I just want my tape. And I have a house cleaning business, and I listen to those tapes like 7 hours a day. And I was just a little bit behind.
Have you listened to the tape on addiction? No.
Well, I know there's positive addiction, so I take it to my man. Anyway, my question is, how do I learn to be more selfish and enjoy it and really feel good about being selfish? And I know on one of your things you said about that it's okay, that you learn all this stuff, how to deliberate create, and you don't have to worry about those that aren't. And it's still that little part of me, like I can manifest stuff, but it's always the part of I want to give it away and like feeling the worthiness that I can surrender and go deep into what I'm creating and enjoy it and don't have to feel guilty about it. So that's what I want to know.
Well, let's take the word selfish to its ultimate place. Of course, there is no ending to anything. We could even get more selfish, but here is the ultimate place that we would like to take it. We want you to be so selfish that you want to feel good under any and all conditions. That's the ultimate selfishness. I'm so selfish. I'm so aware of self. And think about what we're talking about. You are a physical extension of Source. So the ultimate selfish experience would be to truly allow self to be in this moment, in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. In other words, you're not wanting to be selfless. You're not wanting to be without self. You're wanting to be full of self. And the way you be full of self is by deliberately choosing thoughts that feel good. So when you condemn yourself, you're not full of self. When you worry about somebody else, you're not full of self. When you worry that you're greedy, you're not full of self. When you worry that they're incapable of having what they want, you're not full of self. So when you are ultimately selfish, which means you ultimately want to feel good, then you're making the best of every thought or of every moment. Is an interesting thing because every now and again, Jerry and Esther will rendezvous with someone who is in a place of particularly pointed need, and they'll help them out in some way, even though they hear us say that there is a little bit of trouble that surrounds the idea of I do this for you because I see you cannot do it for yourself. But still there is this desire to uplift and this desire to be of value. And sometimes you'll meet someone and it feels like the universe put you together for a reason, and that's true. In other words, everyone that you meet, you are there for a reason. And so Jerry and Esther were in Spokane, and they were at a lovely campground, and Esther had gone, the satellite dish would not work for her internet because the trajectory is too far up in the northwest, and so Esther was using the telephone hook up in the laundry room. And so she had gone in to check email, and a very nice woman stopped by and said to Esther, may I please reach past you and get the phone book? And Esther played with her a little bit about the immense trouble it was for her to move back a foot. And the woman took the book, and then she said to Esther, I could tell that you would not harm me. I saw your lovely earrings, and I knew that you would not harm me. And Esther laughed, and it turned out that they are selling gems at Gems and Minerals shows. And so Esther's beautiful earrings caught her eye. And right away, Esther really, really liked this woman. And then the woman explained that she was looking in the phone book because the truck that they used to tow the trailer that was parked in the park, not far from Jerry and Esther, something had gone terribly wrong with it. And it was going to cost a fortune to put it back together and make it run, and they weren't even sure if they could make it run. They had really overloaded this poor truck, and it was not likely that it was going to run. And Esther had already, before she even knew what was going on, had fallen in love with this sweet girl. And so now Jerry came in, and the four of them are visiting and talking. And when Esther went back to the coach, she said, what do you think? Do you think we could just give them enough money that they could get into a different vehicle so that they're not stranded here forever? And Jerry said, that's a good idea. And so they did. And It felt like the perfect thing to do. It felt like the next logical step. But there were some little twinges of something uncomfortable that Esther could not really identify, but she overrode it by projecting herself into that situation and imagining how, even though she would rather do it herself, and even though she loves knowing that she is the creator of her experience, what's wrong with being the creator of your own experience and attracting someone who has some money? In other words, Esther sort of struggled with it and worked it out and made herself feel wonderful, and the couple was very grateful. And before Jerry and Esther even left the park, they had a beautiful new vehicle, and they were all bright and shiny and on their way. And Esther and Jerry both felt, on the whole, that it was mostly the perfect thing to do. And it felt better to think that it was the perfect thing to do than to think that it was not so much the perfect thing to do. But while they were in Spokane, someone stole the spare tire off their Tahoe, which has never happened before. They have never had anyone take anything from them. And Esther said, that little vibration was active in us. In other words, that vibration of you have needs and I have means. You have needs that I could fill. And then Esther and Jerry stood back and they're looking at the Tahoe, and they are realizing that there are any number of things that some needy person might need from their Tahoe. In other words, is this really the path of least resistance that we are wanting to open for everyone? So this business of selfishness is an interesting thing, because here, what most people think about selfishness, in other words, we would have encouraged Jerry and Esther to have been so selfish that they insisted on feeling good about their action regardless of the action. In other words, we think that whether they gave someone some money or not is neither here nor there. We do not think that that is the topic of discussion. We're talking about your vibrational stance while you do it, you see. And so anything that says, I am less than I want to be, is not a good vibrational stance. And anything that says, and I notice that you are not as much as you are wanting to be, is not a good vibrational stance either. And so the most selfish stance is actually the most helpful stance, which is we are all capable of doing whatever we are wanting, and it really doesn't matter a whole lot how it unfolds. So when you feel like doing something and it really feels much more good than it feels not good, then it's the right thing to do. In other words, you've rendezvoused there. There's nothing wrong with having a co-creative experience. In other words, everything is about give and take. There is the asking and there is the answering, and everybody's asking and everybody's answering. In other words, that's the dance that we all do together, you see. And there's no right or wrong dance. No one could write a book that says, if you always do this, it's always appropriate, and if you never do this, it's always appropriate. In other words, there's no such thing. It's an in-the-moment dance. And some will say, well, I go where the Spirit leads me. And we say, in that case, you're going where it always feels best, and you're doing what always feels best. And so Jerry and Esther have taken to the idea of thinking about this path of least resistance. And they ask themselves in situations like this, which feels best? Esther said, all right, so we've left Spokane, we're down the road, and we're thinking back about those people. Which feels best? Are we glad about what we did, or are we sad about what we did? And as they thought back even before they took the action, they were glad in advance about what they did. In other words, they could feel the perfection of it. And so that's the selfish question that we would always ask. How does this feel? How does this proposed action feel? Let me pretend that I've done it. How does it feel? And sometimes you don't really know until you've done it. And sometimes you thought it was going to feel one way and it turned out to feel another way, but all that did was help you to get clearer about your next experience. And since you can't get it wrong and you never get it done, then you're just constantly molding your decisions in places that feel better and better and better. You're an uplifter to the very core of your being, and you will never be happy unless you're in the place of uplifting. But uplifting doesn't always mean what everybody thinks it means. In other words, sometimes a better thing to have done was to say to them, I know you'll be fine. I know you'll be fine. You'll be fine. In other words, the action doesn't matter. How you feel about it is what matters.
Okay, I have another question. My question is about what I've been thinking about all week listening to these tapes, is about more ways to love and accept all of myself, because I'm been kind of playing with this, and it's like, if I really can learn to love and accept and own myself, I don't get triggered by people around me, and I can more live and let live. And so I'm more.
Well, we think that that is valid reasoning, but let us tell you why you're having trouble with it. And better still, something that we would do instead. When you say, I want to love all of myself, do you mean you want to love all of the things you said that you wish you hadn't said, and you want to love all of the things that you wish you haven't done? That's sort of like when you go to a buffet, do you say, I wish I could love all of this food? Or do you just eat what you love? I really wish I liked that, but I don't. But I think I will start eating it. I'm going to eat it every day until I love it. And we say, why not just eat what you love? And so the same thing is true of everything, and especially you. Focus upon the many lovable things about yourself and leave I want to love all of myself. And you see, when you are in a moment of, that's like someone sat here a while ago and said, there are so many wonderful things to do, and I'm frustrated that I cannot do them all. And we said, wait, we have to point out how really, really ridiculous that is. Well, we were kinder then, but we said, if you're doing something in this moment and you're loving doing it, then what difference does it make whether you're doing that which you would love, and that which you would love, and that which you would love, and that which you would love, if what you're doing is something that you love? And so why feel frustrated about all of the wonderful things you're not doing if you're loving what you're doing? Now, this is the more significant thing that we're wanting to talk about. You see, wherever you're focused, in other words, that person would have said, after that opportunity to think about it a little bit, well, I don't mean that there aren't things that I love to do and I'm happy when I'm loving them. I just don't like the things that I don't like. I don't want to ever have to do something that I don't like to do when there's so many things that I do want to do. And in essence, that's what you're saying. There are things about myself that I don't like so much, or that I haven't liked so much, and there are things about myself that I really like. And we say, what difference does it make how many things there are if what you've got activated right now is something you like? Cool. Because that's like saying, well, I know that this radio station is playing a beautiful song right now, and I got to give them credit for that. But yesterday, you should have heard the horrible song they play. And even though they're playing a nice song today, I'm boycotting them because of the song they played yesterday. And we say, why not just tune in to the beautiful song that they're playing? Why not just tune in to the beautiful song? And so now this is where your two questions dovetail together, because if you're selfish enough to want to feel good, then you're making the best of every moment. And when you're making the best of every moment, in other words, making fun of it, finding how to be more efficient, in other words, if you're making the best of every moment, which means just finding a way to feel good in the moment, then you'll reach the place where it won't matter to you what you're doing. Sometimes you will see people doing something that you really wouldn't want to do, or that you remember doing as a child that you really didn't like to do. And it surprises you that they seem to be finding joy from it. And we say, oh, to have something to focus upon and to feel that it is meaningful and to be applying your skill to it and to be turned in, tapped in, turned on. In other words, when you've got source flowing through you, anything that you are doing can be pleasurable. Yes.
Thank you.